Hello and welcome back to Inside the Tank, presented by CW Sports Memorabilia. I'm your host, Tyler Rains. What a weekend. I will just start off by saying that I told you to watch Porter Martone. Look what he did. 5 points in 2 games. There's nothing better than a Steelheads win. Okay? I will say that. But we have a lot to talk about on this show, including the incredibly crazy disaster of a game that was on Friday, as well as the redemption round, I guess you could call it. The redemption round win on Saturday night in Kingston. It's going to be really fun. Let's talk about it. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I'm in good spirits that the Steelheads lost. It's not that they lost. It's they had a really, really good game in Kingston the next night. And to be completely honest, this is a good sign for the future. Why am I saying it's a good sign for the future, you may ask? Because it proves that even though you had an absolute crap storm of a game the night before, you didn't just roll over and die. You know, you decided that you were going to at least try against Kingston and dominate. And that's exactly what they did. That game against Ottawa, and we're going to talk about it, obviously. That game against Ottawa was a disaster. It started good, but it did not end well. So early in the game, Ottawa goes up 2-0. It's early goals. I'm telling you. They go up 2-0 thanks to Cameron Tolnay and Kelly. And then in the second period, I believe, Casper Larson and Angus McDonnell. So one player that I told you to watch is Angus McDonnell, because no matter what, he's going to make a good play in front of the net, and it's going to be a high danger scoring chance basically any time he gets within 10 feet of the goalie. That's exactly what happened with his goal. Casper Larson with a bomb, and he scores the first goal of the game. So it was 3-3 to end the second period. They didn't start super strong, but they kept up with the 67s for that first little while. As soon as the second period ended, the wheels fell off the wagon. You know, they completely fell apart. They allowed 6 unanswered goals in the second period. 6. Not 1, not 2, not even 3, no, 6. 6 goals in the second period and 1 in the third. You know what the final score of the game was? 10-3. Now you're probably saying to me, what are you talking about? Hockey games don't go into double digits. You want to bet? They just did. This game was a disaster. It's like I was saying, they kept good pace for the first and second periods. The first period, they may not have looked the strongest, but they kept with them. They were able to fight off almost every scoring chance that they had in that first period. Second period, they came up, they tied the game up, and they looked like they could potentially fight this team and win hard. And then as soon as the third period starts, or as soon as the second period starts, rather, the wheels fall off the wagon. And this team just sinks to the bottom of the ocean, metaphorically. It didn't look good. And there's not a whole lot of real good things to say about it, other than the fact that, you know, that first period looked okay. That's that. Sometimes you got to criticize them. Sometimes you gotta say this game was embarrassing. And I don't think that it's a bad thing to say that, because we're used to the Steelheads having good games, your really, really good games where you end up scoring 7 or more goals. And on the rare occasion you have the really, really extremely bad games like this, where your goalies get blown out. You weren't really doing a whole lot to get that lead back in the second. And if you were, to no avail. It just didn't happen the way that they drew it out. So that, I think, was kind of a learning point for this team. It was, in a way, I think, a wake-up call, because as of this recording, there's 7 more games left in the regular season. And 4 out of those 7 take place this week. I believe Hamilton is at 68 points and Mississauga's at 62. So there's a 6-point difference in between 6th and 5th. I believe Peterborough is also tied with Hamilton. So I think this was a little bit of a wake-up call, because, yes, they did lose really badly to Ottawa on Friday night. Was it one that you wanted to watch? Definitely not. I know that I myself was just, I don't even know what to call that. But the important thing was not just that game, because they realized, I think, playoffs are coming up. We need to hunker down, and it's not too late yet. They may have had a bad loss to Ottawa Friday night, but Saturday, it was a complete, and I mean a complete 180. They won 5-3. They looked so much better than they did in Ottawa. And again, every time the Steelheads have played Kingston this season, they've won. They swept the season series against the Frontenacs. Am I saying it was an easy task to beat Kingston? No. But you got the win. You went out, you lost to Ottawa the game before. Really, really bad. You 180-degree turn it, and you're out there taking your revenge. That is what you want to see. You have a really bad loss. It's a back-to-back. And you go out there and you try your absolute best. Why does this give me hope? Because even if it may not be this year, that's what championship teams are made of. And I know I'm probably sounding delusional when I say this, but this Steelheads team will be a championship team. Maybe not this season, but either next year or the year after that. They've got the pedigree. They've got that incredible sense of urgency now, even though they didn't have it before. I think this was a tipping point in the, we have to do this if we want to survive in the playoffs. And at this point, it's almost guaranteed that they're making playoffs, unless they lose their next 6 games and everybody else wins, which is very, very unlikely. This team is making playoffs. And what I saw in this game against Kingston was very playoff-esque. It's almost like we've seen what we've seen in the playoffs, especially last year. That first round against Barrie was a really hard-fought battle. Second round against Hamilton, real tough. And it looked very playoff-esque, the bottom line. Why do I say that? Because they played like it was the last game of their careers in this game. I think it started off from one of the best possible line combinations. I love the fact that James Hardy and Porter Martone are playing on the same line. That was, I think, one of the best decisions that JR's ever made, because those two seem to be really clicking, and it showed right away, because very clearly Porter Martone had a hat trick last night, and what did I say? He was another player to watch out for as well. Parker Von Richter had an assist. This team was clicking, I think, more than it has in the last couple of weeks. And it's not just because they were playing a weak team in Kingston. This genuinely looked like they wanted to win. There's something that's indescribable about this Steelheads team compared to, the 2017-18 team. The year after they made the finals, everybody was convinced that, they're going to miss out on the playoffs, this, and this. That's not quite it. It's very reminiscent of the 17-18 team, because we saw that team They struggled at the start of the season. They had a strong second half, and they woke themselves up. This team, in a way, I say they're reminiscent of that team. They may not have had the same result, but in a way, they showed that resilience, especially in this game against Kingston. They showed what they're made of. And maybe I'm the only one who's seeing this. Maybe other people are seeing this too. But this game really showed what they're made of because you're under pressure, right? You're fighting to clinch a playoff spot. This team showed what they're made of, what they're capable of. And this is a sign not to mess with anything that they can do because no matter what, you're going to get burned 85-90% of the time you make a mistake. In the playoffs against this team, they may be a young team. They may not be as experienced with the vets they had last year, but this is an exciting playoff-ready team that just showed their claws and teeth on Saturday night against Kingston. And it's looking scary. Am I saying they're going to be a championship team this year? Like I said, no. It may not happen this year. But they're at least going to put up a fight. And that is something that I'm very excited for. This week, I mentioned that there are 4 games out of the 7 remaining regular season games. There are 2 weekday games. Now, this is a little bit strange. I believe these are rescheduled games from earlier in the season. If not, these are quite unusual. They have a game in Peterborough on Tuesday night, and they have a game at home on Wednesday night, which is, again, quite strange. I don't think I've ever seen a weekday night game other than Fridays. Because although it's going to be fun, these are also going to be tough games. You have Peterborough on Tuesday, Barrie on Wednesday. So those are 2 tough opponents as it is already. Erie on Friday, Oshawa on Sunday. Erie's not even close to a playoff spot. Oshawa's out of the playoffs, I think, right now, as far as I know. So those 2 are games that I would expect them to win. But the games against Peterborough and Barrie, I think they're going to put up a fight. Based on what they did with Kingston and what they've been doing, with the exception of the Ottawa game, I believe that this team is going to put up a fight. And there's no reason to believe that they can't. They're getting into that last little bit of the season, and they're ready to come out and show their claws to whoever is getting in their way. Keys to the games. Play your game. Nothing too fancy. You don't have to be dangling around the net trying to do the Michigan. Just come out there, play your game, start on time. That is what I have to say about this team. There's 7 games left in the regular season, 4 out of 7 being played this week. If they win 4 out of 7, that's going to be a huge advantage for them going into the playoffs. And I think they can do it. I definitely think they can do it. Now, that brings me to the last part of the episode, which I think well-deserved for this player. It's the time to name the player of the week for Inside the Tank. And, of course, how can you not give it to him after an incredible performance this weekend? Porter Martone is the player of the week this week with 4 goals and 1 assist, 5 points through 2 games. Now, remember when I said you look out for Porter Martone and he is going to burn you on the power play and on 5-on-5? He's just a very lethal player. This is why. Because that game against Kingston, he got paired up with James Hardy, right? He get a completely new line that he hasn't been on before. That just goes to show that he is ready to play wherever you put him in the lineup. And I think that is just so incredible to see. I'm really happy with the way that he's fitting into the lineup. It looks like there's just no hesitation with him. Because when he came into the lineup, I think there was a lot of uncertainty and, not many people knew what he was made of. But that game just proved that it doesn't matter where he plays in the lineup, he can still be an effective player nonetheless. So Porter Martone, 5 points in 2 games, 4 goals and 1 assist. This week's Inside the Tank Player of the Week. Congratulations, Porter. That is a huge weekend from you. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of the team can do this week and how they're going to be able to fend off Barrie and Peterborough in these first 2 games, fight against the Otters, and take it to the Gens on Saturday night. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification for all future content, and follow our socials down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it with all your friends, and I will see you in the next one.